So we continue with the reproductive system. So we had seen that the pregnancy is going to take place by implantation of the blastocyte into the endometrium or the uterine wall. The next one we see is amnion and the amniotic fluid. So in the early stage of gestation, the implanted blastocyte mass of cell develops a number of extra embryonic membranes to protect the developing embryo and provide it with nutrition as it develops. These membranes are amnion, choroid, allantois and placenta. So it is seen that the embryo, because it wants to have the nutrition from the parent body, that's why it will start developing different kind of layers around it, so that which will be helping it for nutrition, it will be helping it for protection and developing the embryo. So there are four kinds of such kind of layers, or we can say four kinds of such yeah, what do you call it, membranes, which will be there. So first one is the amnion, okay, the next is choroid, the next is allantois, and the final is placenta. So they play a vital role in the development of the fetus and are present right up to the time of birth. So once they have got embedded into the endometrium, from that point to the point the child birth takes place, these four membranes are going to be present and are going to protect the embryo or the fetus. Amnion is a sac which develops around the embryo even before the formation of allantois. A amniotic fluid fills a space between the amnion and the embryo. Function of the amniotic fluid. So the first layer which is going to be there in outside the embryo will be the amnion. The amnion will be something like a balloon sort of thing which is formed just over the embryo, and this is the most important protective layer over here. So it is developed much before, even the allantois and all is going to be done later on, but it is the first layer or the first developed sac, which is the amnion, and that complete sac is filled with a fluid called amniotic fluid. Amniotic fluid is the fluid which is present in the amnion sac. And the functions are: protects the embryo from physical damage by jerks or mechanical shocks. For example, when the mother falls over. So these are, it will be a water bag, it will be a water bag. So जिसके कारण क्या कि the baby will not be impacted immediately if there is any kind of impact on the womb. So अगर वो जब भी रहता है, यानी क्या, the baby is covered in a balloon which is completely filled with the amniotic fluid. So whenever there is kind of an impact coming on the stomach of the mother, then that particular impact will be taken up by the fluid, and hence the baby which is inside that particular amnion sac is not going to be damaged much. So that is the main purpose of the amniotic fluid. Second, it keeps an even pressure all around the embryo. So there will be even pressure all around the embryo. ऐसा नहीं कि यहाँ से ज़्यादा pressure है, यहाँ से ज़्यादा pressure, ऐसा नहीं. It is even pressure all around the embryo. Allow the fetus some restricted movements. The fetus can roll over, move around inside the some restricted movements are available for the fetus inside the body due to the presence of the fluid over there. And also prevents sticking of the fetus to the amnion. So otherwise, the possibility is that the amnion sac, if the fluid is not there, the amnion sac would stick to the body face of the baby, and it would suffocate the baby. So it also allows that the body, the fetus is not sticking to the walls of the amnion. So that is the amnion and the amnion sac and the amniotic fluid. We next see is the placenta. Now placenta is a junction between the mother and the child. It is such that it is like this. It is this way from the mother, this side from the child. They are such that they are not touching each other, they are not connected to each other, but there is a gaseous and the nutritive transport taking place between the capillaries kind of thing. There are something like capillaries which are over here, which is going to transfer the nutrients from the mother to the child and the waste products from the child to the mother. Okay, so that's why the placenta can be said to be as the junction box or the terminal box where these two are going to transfer their respective nutrients and the waste products from each other. So the growing embryo or the fetus, 8 weeks old, with human-like appearance, is a living organism. Yeah, because by 5 weeks the heart in the circulatory system is there, and maybe in 2 months it is going to have the limbs and the so definitely within 8 weeks, that is 2 months, the body is a living organism having his own heart, pumping heart, and the circulatory system. It needs food and oxygen. It excretes nitrogenous waste and carbon dioxide, which need to be continuously removed. So yeah, it will. Now the baby is in a condition that it will require nutrition, it will require oxygen, it will at the same time also produce carbon dioxide and nitrogenous waste from the body. It needs food and oxygen, it excretes nitrogen waste and carbon dioxide, which need to be continuously removed. These special functions are performed by a structure called placenta. Placenta is a disc-like structure attached to the uterine walls. A cord containing the blood vessels connect the placenta with the fetus. This is called as the umbilical cord. So umbilical cord, which is the cord between the placenta and the baby, that is the fetus, is called as the umbilical cord. So that is the connection between the placenta and the baby. The placenta is formed of 2 sets of minute finger-like projections. So as I told you, 2 set of minute finger-like projections. The villi. 1 set of villi are given out by the uterine wall, and the other set an extension of allantois by the embryo. So these are the extension of the allantois. Allantois extension are from the placenta are the finger-like projections. So these are from the uterus, जो है placenta from the female, and these are from the ये सब जो ये umbilical cord है और ये है the finger-like projection from the baby's point of view. The 2 set of villi get interlocked, but they never open into each other. So they are going to get interlocked, but they are not going to open up to each other, and that's the reason that the blood group of the mother may not be the same as that of the child. Otherwise there will be a problem. So this is because over here there is no mixing up of the blood. The blood of the female, the mother, and the blood of the child are not getting mixed up because they both are separate. The placenta is separating the both, but only the transport of nutrients and the gases is taking place. Here the blood of the embryo comes in close contact but never mingles with the blood of the mother. Okay, that's the important part. The fetal blood brought to it by an artery containing carbon dioxide and urea, etc., excreted by the fetus. So the fetal blood will be the one which will be having the carbon dioxide and the nitrogen waste, which is excreted by the fetus, will come from there into the placenta, and the blood flows through various fine capillaries of the placenta. Close to these are capillaries and blood sinuses of the mother. So this is how the transport takes place. So placenta is the intimate connection established between the fetal membrane and uterine wall, permitting diffusion of nourishment from the mother's blood to that of the growing fetus, and disposal of the waste from the blood of the fetus to that of the mother. So what we see over here is that the placenta is that particular intimate connection between the mother and the child. The mother and the child के बीच में का intimate connection है जहाँ पे से the nitrogenous waste and the carbon dioxide which is generated by the fetus are going to be released to the mother so that she can release it further outside, and the important gases, the oxygen and the nutrients which the mother wants to give to which the fetus requires, is given by the mother to the fetus to the placenta. So that is how the exchange, the permitting the fusion or the nourishments and the gases are taking place between the mother and the child. So the function of the placenta allows diffusion of substances from the mother to the fetus and from fetus to the mother as follows. From the mother to the fetus as first is oxygen, glucose, amino acids, lipids, fatty acids and glycerol, vitamins, mineral ions such as sodium, potassium, calcium, chlorine, certain drugs, alcohol and nicotine, antibodies and viruses. So now the initial ones we know very well, it is required by the body. The oxygen and glucose and amino acids, lipids, everything are required by the body. So that is definitely going to be transferred from the mother to the baby, and it's very good that it is being transferred. But you can see that certain drugs, so 7 point certain drugs, alcohol and nicotine, antibodies and viruses. So these are the 4 things which are may or may not be required and are transferred from the mother to the child. Okay, so that's the reason it is always said to the pregnant female that she should not be taking as far as possible avoiding the medicines. So जितना हो सके उतना वो कम medicines लेती रहेंगी तो अच्छा है, so that those medicines or the drugs what is she is taking are not getting passed on to the child and not getting any kind of side effects to the child at the time. So that is why normally we want that the mother or the pregnant female should be healthy, so that she does not require any kind of external medicines or antibiotics during that period. Secondly is about the alcohol and nicotine. So it is always advised to the female, that the pregnant female, that she should not take any alcohol or should not smoke cigarette or should not take nicotine, because it will directly be transferred to the baby. So even if by birth ही baby को smoke में nicotine वगैरह body में रहेगा, which is harmful for the body of the baby. And then antibodies is good, antibodies are in fact good, but normally you would not like to have it, because antibodies are caused in the body because of some infection. So you don't want that infection, the mother should get infected when she's pregnant. So that's why antibodies, anyways, if the mother gets like if she suffers from chicken pox during pregnancy, then वो antibody baby को अपने आप आ जाएगा, so the baby will be immune from chicken pox by birth. So that will be a kind of immunity which the baby gets due to it. And the next is viruses. Yes, like AIDS, the virus AIDS can spread from the mother to the child also. So this is also certain things which is going to be transferred from the mother to the child through the placenta. At the same time, from the fetus to the mother for elimination is carbon dioxide, nitrogen waste like urea and other waste products. So these are the 3 things which the child is going to give to the mother for excretion purpose. Now the permeability of the placenta is permeable to respiratory gases, nutrients and also antibodies, but it does not allow the passage of germs from the mother to the fetus. Certain viruses like the HIV of AIDS can pass through the placenta if the mother is already infected. Secondly, if there was a direct continuity of the blood between the mother and the fetus, without the placenta, the relatively high pressure of the mother's blood would seriously damage the soft and delicate tissues of the fetus. So, yeah, if we say ऐसा क्यों नहीं है, directly blood मिल सकता था ना, it would be easier. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. This would have been problem for the child, because the child cannot take that much blood pressure with which the pressure is there in the mother. So mother's blood pressure cannot be taken by the child over there. That's why placenta should be there in between for the transfer of the or the diffusion of the different nutrients and gases. So the stages of development of the human embryo are, first of all is the egg, that is unfertilized egg, released from the ovary, and it forms the zygote, that is the fertilized egg, is the first one cell stage. It is then going to become a spherical mass resulting the repeated division of zygote, which is called as morula, and then further it becomes a hollow sphere of cells with a surrounding single cellular layer, that is a tropoplast, and an inner cell mass projecting from it centrally fixes into the uterine wall, that is blastocyte. So when it's the blastocyte, it gets fixed into the uterine wall. Then embryo in 3 weeks, a tiny organism about the size of a large pea, hardly resembling a human being. Advanced embryo 5 weeks, heart and the blood vessels have formed but no limbs. And fetus is 8 weeks, that is 2 months. Limbs have appeared some resemblance with ultimate human being. An infant born at the end of 40 weeks. So that is around 280 days. Placenta also acts as an endocrine gland. So it is the placenta over here is also an endocrine gland. So that is something unique over here. It produces the hormone called progesterone. So called estrogen and both estrogen and progesterone. Presence of progesterone in the urine provides a certain test for pregnancy. So yeah, placenta will also be producing the estrogen and progesterone, which was also the function of corpus luteum. So you can see the production of estrogen and progesterone sees to it that the menstrual cycles is not going to shred. The shredding of the uterine wall doesn't take place when the progesterone is present in the blood, and hence you don't want that when the mother is pregnant, when the mother is pregnant, automatically you don't want any shredding to take place, because it is a complete you can see the home of the baby. So that's why that particular time period of 280 days, there will be the progesterone present in the blood, so that there is no shredding taking place. So menstrual cycle is going to stop during those months of pregnancy. What we now had is partition, that is the birth. So next part is the childbirth. The full term of development of the embryo in the uterus is called as gestation. So the full term, the term that in which the embryo develops and forms into a complete baby, is called as the gestation period, and in humans it lasts for 280 days. At the time of birth, the baby is pushed out of the powerful contraction of the muscles of the uterus head first. So when the term is over, when the gestation period is over, at that time there will be the formation of oxytocin from the pituitary gland, which is going to pressurize the uterine muscles to contract, so that the baby can be brought out of the vagina, from the vaginal opening. So expansion of the contraction of the uterine muscles for the expansion of the vaginal muscles is going to take place. So at the time of the birth, the baby is pushed out by a powerful contraction of the muscles of the uterine head first. In a few minutes, the blood vessels in the umbilical cord shrinks and can be tied and cut. So yeah, within few minutes the umbilical cord का जो muscle वगैरह है, because it has already connection is lost now, so वो निकल जाएगा and it can be dried and it can be cut, and that is the baby is now can take his own respiration, everything can be done on its own. After about 15 minutes, the placenta breaks from the uterus and expelled out as after birth. So after 15 minutes of the childbirth, the placenta का जो ये connection है वो सब loosen up हो जाएगा, and it is going to get completely come out of the uterus, and it is going to come out which is called as after birth. Uterus contracts and gradually comes back to normal in few days. So in few days, which is already expanded, the uterus is already expanded to accommodate the complete baby over there, will automatically come back to its original position within few days. So partition is the act of expelling the full-term fetus from the mother's uterus at the end of gestation. So yeah, it is at the end of the gestation, वो जो baby बाहर निकलता है, the process of the arrival of the baby is called as partition. The newborn announces its arrival by letting out a sharp cry. This cry is the nature's clearing process of baby's respiratory passage. Now we had seen that the baby is present in the amnion sac. Now the amnion sac is filled with amniotic fluid. That means the baby, when it was inside inside the mother's womb, it was inside a fluid, and so its respiratory tract and everything is completely filled with fluid. So when the baby is just brought out, so what happens is the first thing is that it arrives with a crying. So it cries, it starts crying as soon as it is born. So वो cry क्यों करता है? Because it wants to clear out the respiratory tract which was filled with the amniotic fluid. That was about the partition part. Now we are going to see certain part about the, there are good figures over here. The figures are giving us the different locations. So if you see the different figures, the first one was a figure of the placenta, which was giving us the thing about the placenta over here. Here is the part of the formation of the embryo of the blastocyte and embedding itself over here. Here is the part of the placenta, which is the in and outflow of the gases and the nutrients. Over here is the amnion and the different parts of the amniotic, the allantois and the chorine, the chorine layer, umbilical cord, वो सब जो part है वो उसमें है. And also this gives you the complete part over here. So the baby is here. As soon as when the baby is about to get the gestation is over and the partition is taking place, the baby head out first is going to come out from here, and when it, so this part expands and the baby comes out, and it is able to, when it comes out after a few minutes, means about 10-15 minutes, the complete thing after birth is going to be given out. The placenta and all is going to get removed. So this is a very nice pictorial form of how the gestation period is over and the uterus contraction takes place and the baby is born. We can also see certain things about the one baby and non-identical twins and the identical twins. Non-identical twins are called as fraternal twins. That means they are going to be off. So when I talk about twins, so we already understood that the ovary is going to give only one egg at a time. So in that case, how is it possible that the twins are born? So first condition is called as the fraternal twins. So normally it's only one child who is going to be born, one baby is born. So only one egg is going to be fertilized at a time, and it is going to get divided and form into one particular baby, one particular embryo, and one particular fetus. Now, in certain cases, it may happen that there are two eggs being released by the ovary. If two eggs are released by the ovary at the same time, then, or even three, because we have seen triplets also or quadruplets also. So, if such a thing is there, normally triplets and all will take place only when there is an kind of a treatment given to the female for non-ovulation. So if the female is not ovulating properly and if some injections are given to the female for ovulation, at that time there is a abnormal things are there. Normally it is seen that it is due to that. But anyways, the point over here is that if more eggs are available and the sperm is going to develop, is going to fertilize two separate eggs, and then what will happen is going to be formed will be fraternal twins. So the twins which are formed because of two separate eggs being fertilized at the same time are called as fraternal twins. And other way around, what happens is when the zygote is formed and when it is multiplying, before it could get embedded into the uterine wall, or even it is within that particular cell division takes place, at that time, while cell division, instead of being in a cluster, suppose one of them gets separated out, and then this also multiplies and this also multiplies. So because the original one was the same, which got divided into two and formed into two parts, that's why these twins are identical twins. So the one which are identical twins are the one whose zygote formation was only one. There was only one zygote formed, but that zygote got split into two, and there are two twins which are identical twins. Whereas in case of fraternal twins, the zygotes are also different. There are two separate zygotes and hence two individuals. Okay, so that is what we see in case of non-identical twins or fraternal twins or identical twins. So sometimes two eggs are released from ovaries at the time, and both may get fertilized to produce two individuals. Such twins produced from two eggs are called fraternal twins. Fraternal twins may be either both boys, both girls, or one boy, one girl. Fraternal twins in all respects are like the normal sisters and brothers. So they are no resemblance. They are not direct resemblance. It's normal like two people born even at different times, so different years. But here, because they are separate by all nature, they have got a separate kind of sets of genetic variations, because there was separately fertilization taking place of both the eggs. So fetal twins in all respects are like normal sisters and brothers, but here they are of the same age, having been born within few minutes of each other. About 75% of all cases of twins belong to this type. Fraternal twins are biologically known as diovular, diovular, that is meaning produced by two ova, or dizygotic, meaning produced by two zygotes, and that is two fertilized eggs. Identical twins produce from one egg. Sometimes a single fertilized egg may get split and separated into two parts during its early stage of cell division. So one single zygote gets splits and gets divided into two separate parts. So in each of these two split parts then behave like an independent egg and produces one complete individual each. Identical twins being produced from a single egg are either both boys or both girls, and for the same reason they are very similar, identical to each other, yet all are not similar or in identical twins. For example, fingerprints, birthmarks, and even handwriting are not similar. Okay, so identical twins is the one in which they are very much easily given in the table over here, that this is single born, this is two separate zygotes formed and two separate individuals born, and this is one zygote forming into two, split into two, and then forming into two babies. So that is how the identical twins are born. More than two, the triplets, quadruplets, etc. Sometimes 3 or 4 or even more babies have born from a single pregnancy. Such births may arise due to variety of conditions. For example, triplets, 3 born at a time, may be produced either from one single zygote splitting into two and one of the split part again split into two, or the triplets may be produced from two eggs in which one zygote produces a pair of identical and other develop normally into a babe. So ट्रिपलेट्स हो सकता है कि 3 zygote फॉर्म हुए, या तो एक zygote हुआ था और वो 3 पार्ट में डिवाइड हुआ, या तो 2 zygote हुए थे और एक पार्ट 2 पार्ट में डिवाइड हुआ. सो देयर इज वन आइडेंटिकल एंड वन इज फ्रेटर्नल, कुछ भी हो सकता है. Quadruplets, 4 born at a time, may be produced as 2 pairs of identical twins from 2 eggs or in other combination of identical and fraternal twins. The chances of survival of all the children in a multiple birth decreases as the increase in the number. Rare cases of 6 or 7 babies produced are known, but only a fewer number survive. So yeah, of course there are cases of many people, many children born at the same time, there are many babies at the same time, but normally because it is very difficult for the mother to carry that many children at the same time and the nutrients may not be sufficient, there is a possibility that only few of them survive and only the others will die on the process of partition. And not only that, there are also some abnormal conditions taking place wherein the two which are split, they are not completely split, and there are certain amount of cells which are common between the two, and that's why we call them as conjoined kind or systemic Siamese twins. So Siamese twins are the one in which a part of both the babies are connected to each other. So they have a common brain, sometimes they have a common backbone sometimes. So in such cases, of course, they need to operate the child in such a way that one will survive and other may not survive, because if the brains are two separate but are just attached at a small portion, yes, they can have two separate identities, but many times they are just one brain and the body is like that, then they cannot survive. So, and also we know that test tube babies are there. So if the fertilization cannot take place inside the mother, then they can take the egg and the sperm outside in the laboratory and they can fertilize it and then form the zygote, and once the blastocyst is made, it is embedded into the female in such a way it will be called as a test tube baby. So yeah, and also nowadays there is one more kind of a thing which is the surrogation, in which the baby, that is the zygote is formed, and that zygote is going to be implanted not into the parents but implanted to a third person, a female who is not at all connected to them, and that mother will be implanted with the fertilized egg of the couple, and she will be boning that particular baby for 9 months, which is called as surrogation. So in surrogated mother, in which such woman who offers to carry anyone else's fertilized embryo in her womb till completion of pregnancy and delivers the baby. So these are certain kind of interesting information about the test tube baby and unlucky conjoined twins and Siamese babies and surrogate mother, which is there in this chapter. So this is the end of the chapter reproduction, but I will continue with one more video, and that will be about the population ka part of reproduction, that is the population ke andar, that is method of contraception. I'll just discuss that, maybe a short video of that, but I'll be taking up that in one of the videos.